keeps calling. It's one of the hardest things in the world to close a book or seal the box, because when we close a book, we know the story has ended, and every time we try to open it back up, it's always the same, especially when you want it to be different for just this once. Perhaps looking for an ending that doesn't involve you deleting my number from your phone. And sealed boxes are trouble too, chained, taped, glued, padlocked, and otherwise impenetrable by even the most desperate prying fingers, because we purposely put things inside that we'll miss and know that if we open them back up, then we'll have given into something that we don't need to, broken a promise to ourselves to forget. I suppose it's probably a good and a bad thing, that people are nothing like books or boxes, because a friend once told me that closure is something we invented as an excuse to keep bothering our exes. Those kinds of relationships, or any kind in general, don't operate like light and dark. Nothing about it is so simple. This is good because trying to tear or cut a person out of a life is a necessary, painful trial, a messy ordeal, one certain to give us a few good paper cuts while we're at it. You can hurt me, but I could more easily put that ache into a box, let it splash around inside and bleed as hard as it can. But ache is not fluid like water is. It only takes up as much space as a knotted fist, fingers tucked so far back in each other that the nails have fused with the palm, and an attempt to open it would lead to nothing but a box full of ache and real blood. So just let it sit there with the lid open. It can't lick at sugar cubes and frozen metal poles beyond the cardboard, but it can breathe. It can still grow like a magic beanstalk and one day reach into a heaven full of adult hands that learn to let go and still be a part of me, whether it lives or dies. And if it lives, well, that saves me a few sliced up fingers and gives me a handful of extra hours with Regina's ode to divorce. But it's bad because my advice is always to cut from the photograph. People who hurt us have no place with their faces next to mine, a hand on my shoulder, a foot away from my foot. No, some pictures of people you can look at and say, one of these is not like the others. And when it's that obvious, like a powder kiss that fell during summer and gave someone a snowflake-shaped tan line, sometimes the only real choice is to rely on the task of the scissors. But it's evil because nothing ever really closes, nothing is ever fully sealed up. There are no combinations to memorize, no number locks to decode. It's not as simple as counting to 3 and shrugging off that angry skin, or drinking in breaths of a calm, because it's not confined to a finite form. It doesn't sound like a book. It doesn't taste like a box. We can't grab onto it like the back of a shirt we're crying into, or clutch it to our chest like a dangling necklace over a dark river. No, it's like our hearts grow hands of their own, and that's where all the cliffhanging occurs. Hearts that can get up and crawl around on their own, attached to people who thought we'd let go a long time ago. And eventually flutter away, dripping with salt drops from the eyes that grew and vibrating lips from the mouth it made. Unable to form any steady syllables with our brains, we wonder what would happen if we were to let go. Would there be a terrible squishing? Flattened pumpkins on Halloween night noise, perfectly divided into servings of surprise that fit neatly on your plate and will only make you widen with disappointment, like I was hoping he'd show up to my party, but instead the police came and fined me for being too loud. Or I just jumped off the diving board hoping to meet the water as a cannonball, but I've somehow turned into an ironing board sound. Is it painful? Does it hurt more to be the shirt and a shirt to hanger ratio, fingers clinging to an edge like bare threads threatening to snap against a wire, or to be the bottom in the equation of rock bottom, played on by gravity like a pun on a string of words so primordial it burned me a scorch mark into the ground? I never asked to be stoned with spoons of mercury for listening to heavy metal rock bands.